It's crazy to think that September is already here. It's clear that this is the last month of Q3. Yes, you did hear that right. The third quarter of 2025 ends this month. That being said, we're seeing something very interesting happen in the market as a whole. Bitcoin has gone up a lot since the important neckline of the 23.6% fib support line. About an hour and a half ago, it is now up to $109,000 as I write this report. All of that and what to expect from XRP will be talked about. It's clear that it's still the weekend. In North America, we have a long weekend. We need to remember that and take it into account when we look at these prices. But as of in order to record this report, I'm showing you the last hour's worth of time. All around us, we can see a lot of green. There's a nice bounce going on right now. But we need more proof before we get any more excited. But if you look at the price of XRP, $280, you can see that it went back above that range. We're still down about 1.3% in USD and 1.8% in Bitcoin over the last 24 hours, compared to its value of 166.66 billion Bitcoin. The 24-hour trading volume was close to $6 billion at the time this report was made, as always. Though, I want to make it clear that nothing on this channel is meant to be taken as financial advice. As with any investment, you should always do your own study before putting money into crypto. Look at this then. At the end of August, Bitcoin had lost 6.49% of its value. Will Bitcoin, go green in September? Will everyone in the market do that? We'll see what takes place. Well, what I want you guys to remember is that August is usually a bearish month. But we had a great month overall. It was still a bad month when the monthly candle closes. And if you look at the year 2025, you can see that we've only seen 3 months end on red so far. February, March, and then August were the first 3. There is also past evidence that September is a bearish month if you're interested. Having said that, I think that if rates are lowered, we'll be in a great position and could even end the month in the black. In fact, I think that if rates are lowered, we'll end the month in the green instead of the red. But please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. But look at this. If you remember, in August, almost $3.9 billion came into the Ethereum ETF, while $750 million left the Bitcoin ETF. That's all there is to it. The dominance index shows us everything we need to know about what's going on. But look at this. Also, Nigeria was the 3rd fastest growing crypto country in the world in terms of the number of crypto trades it made from one year to the next. There are big things going on. And we know you know the link. For example, in August 2025, the Central Bank of Nigeria ordered that all systems must be fully migrated to ISO 20022 by October 2025, which is next month. All of these central banks are going to finally make it required, which is very exciting. This is where blockchain technologies can be used by financial institutions. And you know that there are already blockchains that are ISO compliant, which is really cool. Not many people understand the potential of that. But if you really look into what it means, we've talked a lot about it on this channel. You can see how it works with XRP as the native token. But let's move on. Take a look at this chart that shows how BricsPay, Ripple, and XRP standard links both worlds. BricsPay is an active partner in Ripple networking that uses blockchain solutions. For this standard to play the roles, it had to be able to connect bricks and mortar payments to Ripple technology and use XRP as a settlement currency. Again, they're not exactly connected right away, but the bricks and mortar pay will be that bridge that connects these two entities. It also goes back to the Fed if you dig deeper into that, which is where those key things come into play. But listen to what Nate Garcia has to say. You heard it here first. People are seriously underestimating investors' demand for spot XRP and Solana ETFs, just like they did with spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. If you've been watching the program, Cryptox has also been saying the same thing every day. We saw something. I think Bitcoin still had a lot of demand, but Ethereum had very slow demand in terms of ETF inflows. But we saw what happened last month and over the last 2 months. And I think this gives us a better idea of what happens when these other assets, especially XRP and Solana ETFs, go live. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people in terms of inflows. But let's look at what's happening with the price. This is the first update for the month of September for XRP. You can see that the control is still about 58.12%, but in the big picture, we're still down a lot, which is good to see. If you're looking at Bitcoin, you can see that it had a very Sharp bounce of almost 3%. We checked the 23.6% Fibonacci support line again. You now know that August has a double bottom. However, notice this big bounce. Again, I think this is because the bulls and bears are fighting. And the bulls are in charge because we want to keep the price between 23 and 26. If it can't keep the price between $23.60 and $23.70, we could see more negative movement, as I said in my last report. But I believe the bulls really won here. And I'm sure a lot of shorts were closed out around this range. That being said, it's still too early to get too excited. We're still not out of the woods. A lot of people are going to say that cryptos are too harsh. Guys, we want to say it again, being aware of the bigger picture. I told you guys that even though we saw these fake bounces, we're still not out of the woods. In the end, these levels were retested, which was one of the things we thought might happen. I'm still not excited. Yes, it's a nice way to start September, but it's still the long weekend. Of course, but if you look at XRP right now, you should know that, believe it or not. We did go below our August lows. In fact, we touched it. Briefly below, you can check this out for yourself, $1.70. So, we quickly fell below the August lows we set for ourselves on August 2nd. But we have since recovered. Kind of got back up to that $283 again. That's great to see. Remember that. The power will really get in our way, in terms of helping us push much faster than you might think when demand really picks up again. And the market gets hot. The fact that it's more dominant now than it was in July will really show how important it is for it to stay where it is. I like what I'm seeing so far, yes, but as I already said, we need to find more proof. Please tell me what you think in the comments. I love all of you. Look at the Urban Crypto ZX and be at peace.